This is Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Kicking off hour 2 here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM channel 158. Wherever you're watching or listening, we appreciate it. YouTube TV, the VSiN Watch app. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Stormy
Stormy, the elitist Buonantony.
Yeah. Somebody's stealing your words on social media.
I mean, look, you live a highfalutin life.
So
and sometimes it's unrelatable.
It was funny. I got a tweet. It was based on a tweet that I had of the post-game picture that Jensen had sent out from the Mississippi State game. And I just said, what a night. And someone responded to it and said, Stormy, I find you spoiled or elitist, but you're a great sideline reporter. I do try to catch your games. It's like, oh, all
right.
Dang.
I think it's time
but
we come
elitist,
forward.
you call me elitist all the time because of my travel speak, but I don't think that it's that bad. Now I feel bad. I need to change my whole personality.
That was my burner. That was me. I was just trying to say out loud what I wasn't brave enough to say to your face. No, I just, I like to jab you a little bit. You weren't here on Friday, but you sent out a Southwest tweet, so immediately I was like, oh, here we go. Stormy with the bougie travel tweets
I was
nobody cares about.
excited because if anyone has ever traveled on a Southwest flight.
Can I pause you really quickly?
Sure.
This is because we had a great example of what I'm talking about. Right before the break, you're like, well, you've flown Southwest before. And I'm like, Stormy, I have no idea what you're talking about.
You're unique. You don't travel.
No,
you don't travel ever, though.
I'm a normal guy.
Most people go on like a couple flights every now and then. I would imagine some of our audience has taken a Southwest flight in your life. And it's pick your own seating, at least until January, where I was very excited because the stewardess came out and said, we do not have a full flight. Everybody, please spread out. It'll be wonderful. And everyone actually did. Everyone abided by the rules and didn't sit directly next to anybody. And I was really excited about it.
Do you think the Vikings flew Southwest to Chicago?
I don't, That is one thing I do miss about my old job in hockey. The charter life was very nice. Now that is elitist. Okay, we got to move on.
There we go.
Thank you, everybody, for tweeting at us, by the way.
Thank you for
Lots of fun conversation. If you want to join in, at me, JVT, at Storm Buonantony, at VSiN Live. And Jason said, Stormy, take a deep breath. Your 49ers will be fine. On the other hand, I pray for this Giants fan. Woof. Yeah, tough start, Jason, for your Giants. I apologize for that one. Commanders looked good. Jaden Daniels looked good. Jason Stark said, falling out of my chair laughing at Stormy mocking JVT and his whining.
There you go.
So that was a nice one. Also for you, Lockman or at SBO Picks. You guys hate us Dolphins fans, don't you? And you hate Miami. It is what it is. We suck. Hashtag fins up. Yeah. Hashtag Money Moves VSiN.
Somebody responded, hell yeah, brother.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
Who could at me JVT be? But he also said, you guys are lucky I like the show and John's a cash cow. So there you go.
There we go.
Well played. Ready
to roll.
Let's get into Monday Night Football. Vikings, Bears going head-to-head. Minnesota favored by 1.5. This total has gone a tick down. 43.5 here. If you look at our VSiN betting splits page right now, on DraftKings, 51% of the bets, but 37% of the handle on the Vikings. So we got 63% of the money. DK coming in on Chicago, getting the points. Circa 59% of the bets, 60% of handle on the Bears as well. And we mentioned that movement to the under from 44.5 to 43.5. Are we 43 here?
Let's see. I'll tell you right now.
No, 43.5 here. Okay. So all at the 43.5.
Dude, I will say I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to fully, for the first time, put my voice behind it. I think the Bears are going to be good. Damn it. And I'm ready to say it. I think Ben Johnson is a good coach. Play this back when they lose by 30 tonight. Please pull this for tomorrow. I think Ben Johnson's a good coach. I thought Tyler, who was with us earlier, had a great stat. And I didn't even know that this was a thing when he brought this up. But Tyler Fornes, who was with us, Vikings writer at the Real Forno, when I asked, hey, any interesting dynamics of this matchup? Ben Johnson, when he was offensive coordinator versus this Vikings team, they say 4-0. And in those 4 games, the Lions had scored 30 points in each of them. Ben Johnson is a good offensive coordinator who's got a feel for at least going after Brian Flores. Will they score 30 points? I don't know about that. But I still believe in Caleb Williams. I don't think we should throw it all out after one season, which, by the way, the numbers were fine for Williams. And so in this offense, with the emphasis along the offensive line, rebuilding and improving it during the offseason with a play caller like Johnson, I'm just going to kind of buy into what I think is a dude that can put this team on the right track. So this is kind of just all pure Ben Johnson belief. Some of it is some questions of J.J. McCarthy, but I think these two teams are closer to equals to one another. This obviously indicates a pretty wide gap between the two of about 3 points on a neutral. I think it should probably be a little bit shorter than that. So took a little bit on the Bears' money line. I'm going to believe that Ben Johnson is going to turn this thing in the right direction.
So I agree, big picture. I just wonder how much of that will click week one. I guess that's my one question, although we did, as we pointed out earlier, see the Lions without Ben Johnson and what that looked like offensively for them, and it was interesting. I did not expect them to score, 6 points up until there was just a few minutes left in the fourth quarter of that game. And so clearly his absence was sorely missed. But if you are putting that much on a young quarterback that's had so many different voices in his ear over the last 2 years, how quickly will that all take shape? And I know they did revamp the offensive line, and I know he's got skill position talent around him. But I look at, even with a clean pocket last year, had the second lowest EPA in the NFL. We know all of the sacks that he took because he does just hold on to the ball a little bit too long. So I have some questions there. I'm glad you brought up Tyler Forness, though, because if you do miss any of the show any day, remember you can always go back, Money Moves in podcast form, wherever you get your podcast. Listen to that whole breakdown because he talked about some personnel questions as well. On the Bears side, specifically defensively at corner, we do have a lot of questionables there. Really liked the potential matchup for a Justin Jefferson if you're looking at certain things in the prop market. Speaking to that, any props that maybe called to you as you went through the numbers this morning?
Yeah, so let's look. Last look, the lowest total for Caleb Williams passing yards was 217.5. I'll pull up the screen to see if there's maybe any change there. There's a couple of 220.5s out there. So there's, as we always say, right, shop for the numbers because there's a wide swath of game or some numbers that are available, which you can get whatever you want. So if you like under, go find 220.5. In fact, look at this. You can find FanDuel at 214.5 for Caleb Williams passing yards. So the whole thought here is, again, going back to what we're talking about. If this is a Ben Johnson offense, then he should be able to go over a number which Jared Goff went over with regularity when you're talking about 214.5. I think there's going to be big play opportunity here. I think that you're going to ask Caleb Williams to do a little bit more. I think he's going to have the opportunity to do so against an aggressive defense. I think that, which, by the way, if you look at some of the numbers for Minnesota, too, a lot of bend but don't break type of numbers for them last year when you talk about their defense. We're very good at forcing turnovers, getting explosive plays when you're talking about plays behind the line of scrimmage, but limiting some of those successful drives that ended in points. I think you're going to see some of that. So I think that Caleb Williams can at least go over that low water mark at 214.5. Especially, too, if you're shopping around, you can find that 214.5 when everyone else is 218.5 or 221.5. It's a pretty big difference, and that's a really low number in a Ben Johnson-led offense.
Good reminder here, guys. At VSiN, we newly partnered with Brocco, and if you are diving into NFL player props, they have all of their props priced at -110 no matter what. So the number will adjust, but the juice will not. So -110 on everything. And right now, you can get Brocco's welcome bonus when you use the code VSiN, VSIN, get a $50 deposit match up to $100 for new users, plus monthly rewards too. Whether or not you win or lose, sign up today at playbrocco.com if you want to check it out. And again, use that code VSIN for the 50% deposit match. A lot of the conversation we've had today has led me to think game over, but I already have a bet on under 44, and because I liked the idea of Caleb Williams, getting a little bit confused against a Brian Flores defense. What are we going to get from J.J. McCarthy in his debut? And now kind of the more we've talked about this, I think there's potential for offense, and I don't know if I like my bet as much anymore.
Nah, you're good. I mean, I was really cooling on my Jets play from the summer, and then Aaron Rodgers went out there and stunk it up, and I stayed inside it, so it's really good.
We'll see.
Stay with your original
I'm riding it out. We'll see. Also, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know if you're going to move on because I was going to say the other player prop angle was what we talked about. And this is why I like having guys like Tyler on with the insight of following these teams every single day, getting an idea of it. But Jalen Naylor, I thought, my whole premise wasn't super pro Naylor. It was just with the volatility at the position underneath Justin Jefferson, where a lot of these catches and targets going to go for J.J. McCarthy. And you do wonder if it is Thielen, but isn't there something to be said of Thielen getting in there late when you're talking about the proximity of the season, not having a lot of work with J.J. McCarthy, and then ultimately now coming back, and people are assuming that he's going to be the number 2 and get a vast majority of those targets. But what if it is a guy like Naylor?
Yeah.
So I'll be curious to see if that's going to be it. Yeah, as I spoke, one place went from 19.5. It looks like to 20.5, but there's still 18.5 out there for Naylor in terms of receiving yards.
Last couple minutes here real quickly. We didn't have any day baseball today, but a couple interesting games of note in Major League Baseball. The Mets and Phillies, Cubs, Braves. Let's go to the NL East here first. Mets rookie Nolan McLean, who's been great through 4 outings so far, 4-0, 1.37 ERA against Aaron Nola. Mets took early money. They opened an even money road dog, now out to minus 126. The total in that one, 9. Any thoughts?
Not entirely for something like this. I will say I am finding it very hard to focus on baseball. I was looking at box scores and watching some games, but I will say this. For Aaron Nola and what we've seen, it is hard to trust Nola given the returns that we have gotten from him. And the numbers really dictated, right? 6.78 ERA, the 5.05 fielding independent. You look at the recent outings for him. Last time out, given 6 earned over 5 on the road against the Milwaukee Brewers. You're just not at a point, I think, that you're really going to trust what you're going to get back here. And on the other end, for the New York Mets, when you're getting at the mound, at the very least, it's only a small sample size of 4 starts, but it seems somewhat reliable. And this kid's numbers at AAA were actually pretty good, too. Over 113 2/3 innings so far this year, 2.45 ERA, 3.68 fielding independent at the AAA level. Seems that the pitching is going to be a little bit more consistent with New York, and I think the market's adjusted accordingly here.
Phillies do have a 7-game lead in the division right now over the Mets, but worth noting, New York swept the Phillies at home last month, 7-2 advantage in the set. So we'll see how these next 4 games ultimately play out for them. But I'm with you. I've had a hard time diving into all the college football numbers, all the NFL with us just kicking off the season.
Eurobasket.
And you've got Euro basketball, and
NBA
you've got English Premier League.
Hey, it was off this week. That's okay. And then, of course, hockey season around the corner, which I know that you're ready to go.
I am. I've been mentally preparing. Shout out Jonathan Davis, our NHL expert here at VSiN. He's been tweeting me some of the nuggets that he's come through in his research to kind of help me get set, because October will be here before we know it, ladies and gentlemen.
Soon, isn't it?
Yes. All right, we got to step aside. We will be right back, though, with Do You Approve This Move? Looking at some college football week 3 movement early. Don't go anywhere.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Even though the season is underway, you can still jump into the VSiN Average Joe contest. Got to check it out. Sponsored by Edge Boost. Each week, you make 7 picks, NFL or college, and the best score of the week wins $500. You can join anytime. Have an Edge Boost account already? Then it's $1,000 every week instead of just the $500. And if that's not enough, there are quarterly prizes too: airfare to Vegas and a free 2-night stay at Circa Resort, and your chance to be on a VSiN show. Free to play. Again, you can enter anytime. Check it out today, vsin.com/Joe, VSIN.com/Joe.
Odds move up, odds move down. Let's see where the odds are moving today in Do You Approve This Move?
All right, let's get into it. Do you approve this move? Looking at some of these early numbers for week 3 in college football, and we have seen, JVT, some particularly notable movement on a couple of these Friday games. So let's start at the top. Colorado, Houston. Cougars have been bet up from 3 to 5.5 point favorites. We're at 6 here at Circa. Houston 2-0 with wins at margin against Stephen F. Austin and Rice. CU lost their opener to Georgia Tech. Bounced back last week against Delaware. But the story of the Buffs has been at quarterback. We saw 3 guys, and their third string quarterback, Ryan Staub, comes in and actually looked the most poised of the bunch.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about this in Best Bets, but I would prefer not to talk about college considering how hard my crotch was kicked over the weekend in a lot of these college games. But I will say I at least agree with the premise of pushing this up past that key number. I haven't seen much of Houston, but looking at what we have seen from Colorado, would understand the market's belief that maybe 3 was a little short for Houston at home.
These early season games suck. I'm just going to say that. From a betting perspective, for us, it has not gone well to start in college football.
But like I mentioned to you really quick in passing, if they weren't with us earlier, this isn't everybody, obviously, but the college contest over the Superbook, your top 7 consensus selections, 3-10-1 to start the year, too. So it has gone poorly for a lot of people.
Oh, and another thing I'll say, actually, they didn't end up being best bets. I feel like a lot of the games we talked through last week, we were on the right side of with our thought process, and we just didn't bet them. And then
maybe I'm just being too pessimistic because I can't.
The games we bet and picked did not go that way.
I mean, the NFL weekend was fine, but the college, I mean, every turn. I mean, Pitt punches one in at the end when they didn't have to against Central Michigan. They don't cover at the gun.
Freaking Kansas? That was a dagger.
How about because you were busy stalking sidelines yourself? Lane Kiffin, at the end of the game against Kentucky, with the time running up by 10, decides to call a timeout with the clock running, and then Kentucky kicks a field goal to get inside the number, and Kiffin, to the sideline reporter after the game, says, yes, sorry to all the gamblers out there.
Trolls betters at the end of the game. Kill
weird.
me now.
Another
game on Friday, though.
A little aggressive.
Kansas State, Arizona, flip of favorites. K-State open -1.5, currently getting 1.5 at DraftKings. Do you approve this move?
I talked about this with big-time Timmy Jim yesterday, Tim Murray, on the program. This is it. This is the buy low spot. Let's go K-State. I don't think Arizona's good. I think Brent Brennan isn't a good coach. I think the pelt on the wall that you're happy with is getting Micah Alejado on one leg in Hawaii after a massive win in week 0, and you stomped them. Okay, congratulations.
And then you beat up on Weber State next.
Right.
Yeah.
They've done absolutely nothing. And I get it, K-State and the struggles we've seen and the lost Army, all those sort of things. But Avery Johnson, the through line has been statistically, he's actually played relatively well. I think this number is the downgrade, which we're going to buy back on. You're going to tell me these two teams are 1.5 away from being equals with one another? I don't buy it. Let's go K-State. We're going to, as the kids say, plug the nose and dive in.
Get right game for the Wildcats. Yeah, it was tough. They lose the heartbreaker in Dublin. Naturally, I think, fell flat against North Dakota, but then to lose as such a big favorite to Army, I feel like that's a backbreaker. Very disappointing. So do they rebound? How about Clemson, Georgia Tech? Clemson was a 16.5-point favorite, down to 4 following that bizarro world game against Troy. Thought they were going to exercise some demons against a lesser opponent against LSU, after LSU. Yeah. But Troy's up 16-3 at half in this game. Now, granted, didn't let them do anything else the rest of the way, but considering what you expected this game to be, and like one of those, speaking of get right games, like let's establish dominance like we saw across a lot of games in college football on Saturday. We did not get that. So total also a 3-point swing to the under in this one, sitting 52.5. But do you approve the move?
I mean, I think you have to, just considering what we've seen from Clemson, especially this offense. It has not really looked explosive.
Yeah, I thought this was supposed to be one of the best teams in the country. What's happening?
I mean, this is the one, too, where my feelings were right. And remember, we talked about this heading into the season where I had voiced my, I'm kind of cooling on this Clemson team the more you really look at it. We talked about that going into the LSU game. This is one of those where I was right in at least expressing my trepidation. It seems to be the case. Look, I don't really see like a ton of explosiveness with this offense overall. Cade Klubnik has played fine and played well. Maybe it's a little bit of a tough spot playing Troy when you have this game on deck. But if you're going to put forth the offensive effort we've seen in these first couple of games against Georgia Tech, a team that we know can spring an upset. I don't know, man. So I kind of get it, but I can also understand if there, and I would likely assume there's going to be some sort of buyback on Clemson at some point.
I was on my way to the field scoreboard watching as that game was going on, and I was just like, what is happening right now? But okay. Georgia, Tennessee, both teams 2-0 to start the year. Bulldogs opened a full touchdown favorite here, JVT. We've seen a 3.5-point swing down to just -3.5 right now. And listen, I don't know how much you can take away from a 72-17 win over East Tennessee State. But Tennessee also beat Syracuse in the opener, 45-26 there. Joey Aguilar has looked good, 5 touchdowns, no picks for him. How do you feel about this move? I
mean, I don't know what you're supposed to feel. Like you pointed out, all right, cool. Marshall and Austin P.
Yeah,
and against Austin P, you won 28-6. I just don't know if we know that much about either one of these teams at this point. So this is the ultimate test game. But I will say we had a somewhat similar scenario just this last weekend where Michigan and Oklahoma really didn't play anybody, but the market felt like it was worth moving in Oklahoma's direction after the line opened back up. That proved to be correct. So maybe the market's onto something here. I like Tennessee's defensive line. I think they're going to be able to get after it here against Georgia. So we'll see if that's going to be the case. But to move that much seems somewhat strong. We'll see if that's actually accurate, though.
Okay, Vandy at South Carolina. Gamecocks go from over a touchdown, so they were 7.5-point favorites at open yesterday, to 5.5-point favorites hosting Vandy. We do have a mutual opponent so far in that they have both faced Georgia Tech. South Carolina, Virginia Tech, excuse me. South Carolina in their opener, 24-11, that dub. Meanwhile, we see Vandy go 44-20 at Virginia Tech on Saturday. What do you make of the move?
I mean, it's hard, again, right? Pavia in the underdog role. It seems like this is something the market really respects, and rightfully so. 7.5 is a pretty strong number. You mentioned the like opponent and the fact that it's a pretty tight game for South Carolina deep into the fourth quarter, going into the fourth quarter before they opened it up. I would tend to think, look, we're in the dead range of 5.5. Getting past 7 is really the big move there. Once we're in this range, it could go any one of the directions. I'd expect that we get back up to like 6, 6.5. So okay. I would understand and agree with at least taking that key number with Vandy and a team that has proven to be very good in that role.
How about Florida LSU? Okay, so
move from 9.5 to 9.5.
No, so that's what we have on the graphic.
I approve. I think that's great.
It's getting played here at a handful of places. Circa and the Westgate here in town are at 8.5, 9 at the South Point.
Yeah.
So it is moving in that direction where people are taking a little piece of Florida with that many points. Do you agree?
I can understand wanting to say, all right, maybe we're getting a little extreme with the line move after a big loss. Having said that, all the criticisms Billy Napier, and we talked about this right before you went off on the trip where, hey, they at least turned it around. We keep talking about this, hey, watch out, this schedule's going to be tough. They responded to that at the end of the year. The decision-making from Napier with this team in that loss to South Florida, I thought was mind-boggling. You're the much better, more talented team playing timid football. Meanwhile, this team's going out there, lining up for long field goals, playing it like it's a normal game, eventually coming away with the victory. I was amazed the way that Napier handled certain situations on the field. So I think from a pure power rating standpoint, are you just going to run in and say, you know what, 9.5 is a little too much, let's cut that down? I totally agree with cutting it down, but I don't have a lot of confidence in Florida when it comes to game management and a coach that is going to add wins at the margins with his decision-making.
To follow up that point, what do you think about USF right now? Because they have 2 wins over ranked teams, one that was in the playoff a year ago. Florida at the Swamp, a team that a lot of people were so high on with DJ Lagway. Is this South Florida team for real? Could they be the G5 playoff team?
I mean, you have to be the leader of the clubhouse at this point, right?
I mean, for sure.
Especially when you have a win over what could be one of those other teams competing for it, which is Boise State. That's the other part, is Boise still could, in reality, romp through the Mountain West. We'll see if that's going to be the case. But, I mean, they have to be the favorite to land it of those group of 5 teams considering the resume.
I'm kind of sad they don't play Tulane.
Right? Yeah.
Like, that would have been a good head-to-head to see what they could be. Any of these totals that stood out to you that were on the move? A handful that have moved multiple. New Mexico, UCLA, a 3-point swing to the under in that one. Same with Clemson, Georgia Tech, as we talked about a little bit earlier. Arkansas, Ole Miss up from 59.5 to 62.5. Vandy, South Carolina, big move to the under in that one.
I'll say New Mexico, UCLA is interesting in that I find New Mexico to be oddly intriguing. They got a win over Idaho State, 33-22. They've played some pretty adequate football, and I think there's some upside with that team. UCLA, man, that's a bad loss the way they lost to UNLV. They're not a great defensive team. Can maybe see it going over, but nothing really strong.
Speaking of these G5 contenders, can UNLV, after what we thought was disaster week 1, could they actually get better as the season goes on and be that team?
I think they've been very fortunate.
Okay, quick timeout. VSiN's own Josh Appelbaum going to join us coming up next, get his market insights on Monday Night Football tonight. Vikings, Bears, also looking ahead to week 2 numbers already. Don't go anywhere. More money moves after this.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Boy, week 1 of the NFL season has been fun, and it's not over yet. Vikings, Bears set to go head-to-head on Monday Night Football tonight. Short spread, some movement on the total. Let's get to it all as we welcome Josh Appelbaum to the show on the Progressive Guest Line. VSiN Betting Analyst, our market insights expert. You can follow him on X as well, at Josh_insights. Always love checking in with you. Before we get to Monday Night Football, though, I mean, I feel like as somebody who is an under-better by nature of what you do, pretty solid week 1 overall?
Yeah, Stormy, JBT, great to be with you. Stormy, by the way, you bring all the craziness to the college football games you cover. So pretty awesome seeing you at the end of that game. But yeah, I mean, it was a great start. I wish I bet more under, Stormy. They go 12-3, aside from obviously that insane Bills comeback that flew way over the number. But one game that jumped out to me that I always look for, divisional dogs with line moves. I mean, you go to that Browns game, that was kind of my highlight of the week because you had the public super, super heavy on the Bengals. They're getting upwards of 80% of spread bets. However, the Bengals fell -6 down to 5.5. Some books even closed 4.5. So if I could make like a blueprint game of what I look for as a data-driven bettor, public Bengals, line went to the Browns. I had so many people tell me all week, you're insane. You're throwing away money. Our old buddy Michael Lombardi, remember he had the St. Jude's bets where you're better off donating to St. Jude than actually making the wager. But hey, it's nice when those data-driven plays come through. So the Browns are the highlight of my weekend, Stormy.
All right, Josh, let's talk about today then. Divisional matchup, Vikings and Bears. What are we thinking?
Yeah, this one's interesting, JVT, because it's really been back and forth. If you go all the way back in the spring, back in about May, we opened this game actually Bears favored by about 1.5. Now, since that time, there's been a big flip here, moving this line from the Bears -1.5 to now Vikings -1.5. What's notable to me is that if you really analyze kind of the line movement and all the moves in between, this line got all the way to Vikings -2.5 a little bit earlier this week. And when it got to that high water mark of 2.5, it didn't go to 3, go through the key number of 3 and keep rising. It's actually come back down to Chicago. So those 2.5s are gone. It's down to 1.5. You can see on our VSiN board, it's juiced up toward the Bears side, +1.5, -112, -115. Some shops even down to 1. Now, I look back about a week ago, guys. Remember that TCU and UNC game where it's the same sort of thing where UNC opened as the favorite in the summer. It flipped toward TCU. But the difference to me was that TCU game, the line kept going to the Horned Frogs, -3.5. There was no buyback. This game here tonight, it was dog to fave toward the road team, but now it's coming back toward that home team. So I like the points here with the Bears tonight, guys. A couple of things. You look at the bet splits right now at DraftKings, only 48% of bets, but 65% of the money is on the Bears. You're getting this late buyback toward Chicago. A lot of system matches on the Bears tonight. Week 1 divisional dogs are covering 63% against the spread since 2016. Week 1 dogs, you missed the postseason the previous year, 56% ATS since 2016. An inflated dog, basically you're getting at least a point better of a line. You can look at it one of two ways. The line's better for you. You're getting a better number. It moved again because you had money going the other way. But that inflated dog system, which would match with Chicago, 61% ATS since 2016. Primetime dogs are 3-0 ATS so far this year. Cowboys, Chargers, and the Bills miraculously last night. Primetime dogs historically around 54% against the spread since 2020. If you're a little bit wary here, you could tease up Chicago. They're in a great spot, 1.5 to 7.5. Go through some key numbers. But I'll throw this at you guys too. JJ McCarthy laying points on the road, his first real start in the NFL. I think it's a tall task. Kind of reminds me of when Arch Manning got all that love for his debut. I'm going to go Da Bears here for our guy Bill AD, +1.5 with Chicago.
Yeah, some really interesting historical nuggets there that you add from a data perspective. I liked also in the article you have up at VSiN.com right now, Alan Eck, the lead ref, 55% ATS to the home team historically. And as Josh mentioned, all of these betting splits, VSiN.com/subscribe. You can get access to all of them every day, DraftKings and Circa, so you get the broad perspective as well as the bigger wagers, more sharp bettors that come over here at Circa. Let's look toward the total, though, Josh, because I mentioned off the top we have seen some movement here toward that under. What are the percentages and data telling you about the total tonight?
Yeah, on the one hand, Stormy, the market is going down here, open 44.5 down to 43.5. So to me, in a vacuum, it looks like obviously under money coming through. I'd be a little wary, though, just the fact that unders have gone 12-3 so far in week 1. It kind of seems obvious that the public is saying, on the one hand, maybe you're due for an over, but on the other hand, these unders are crushing it. I might as well take an under. So in a way, I'd rather like overs have been crushing week 1 to kind of get a contrarian play under. But still, this total has fallen. You're getting only 45% of tickets, but around 50% of the money at DraftKings on the under. Primetime unders are 58% since 2019. And then another angle here, outdoor divisional unders. You know your opponent, you match up, you kind of know how to defend the other team as long as you're not in a dome. Those games to the under are 55% since 2017, and both these teams were 10-7 to the under this past season. So I'd lean under here. I prefer just going with the Bears, but maybe you tease up the Bears, maybe you take that total up a little bit and go under. But it's clear here based on the market that, again, expecting another lower scoring game.
All right, Josh, let's look ahead to next week. Stormy and I both intrigued by a couple of these games that you want to talk about. I want to get your thoughts on Bills and Jets after Justin Fields and New York put up a good fight against Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers.
Yeah, so JBT early move here toward the Jets. Obviously, Bills had an incredible comeback last night. Jets, they cover the number. They cover the +2.5, +3. Probably should have won the game outright. But again, let's look at how this matchup is being viewed early money. And to me, when you're betting these games early, you're looking for hooks and key numbers. You're trying to bet something on a Monday or Tuesday that looks good by the time you get to Saturday or Sunday. So this line has really moved toward the Jets. We opened this game at some shops as high as Buffalo -8.5, -8, -7.5. A lot of those numbers are now gone. You're down to 6.5. Although if you do want to play the Jets, FanDuel is still offering +7 at -115. but the line's going to New York. You look at the splits, they look really good on the Jets early in the week. Only 37% bets, 56% dollars on New York. Over where you guys are at circa 75% of tickets, 96% of dollars on the Jets. Here's a system to remember for week 2, guys. If you're a week 2 dog coming off a loss, this is really the team. These are the teams you want to target. They are 101 and 75 ATS, 57%, 11% ROI since 2005. Also, if you're a big dog, plus 6.5 or more, pretty big sample size. Since 2022, those teams are covering 56% of the time. Divisional dogs in general, I love those ones. They're 54% ATS since 2020. So I'm looking toward the points with the Jets. You missed a lot of these good numbers, but if you can still get that 7, I think it's a worthwhile bet because we'll see if it comes back up. As of right now, it's really moving toward New York.
How about this one? You mentioned cashing, fading the Bengals in week 1. Will you do it again with the Jaguars getting that hook on the 3.5 right now in Cincinnati after what was a pretty dominant performance for them against Carolina?
Yeah, I'm thinking so, Stormy. It worries me a little bit just because, you have on the one hand, the Bengals who won but didn't cover. They're very popular. Anytime a team gets 80% of tickets and doesn't cover, I always think to myself, how does the public view that? Everyone who bet the Bengals, are they still going to do it this week? Or are they going to say, hey, I'm not going to, beat my head against the wall and do that again? So I'm kind of interested to see how the public handles it. But if you look toward the line move, it is going toward the Jacksonville Jaguars. A lot of these books opened, as high as Cincinnati, -6.5, -5.5. Again, these are early numbers that get hammered overnight, but we're all the way down to 3.5. And if you look at the juice on our VSiN board right now, it's not juiced up like it's going back to 4. I think if you like this game, you may want to grab Jags plus 3.5 in the hook right now because it's juiced up -115, -120. Looks like it's getting down to 3. One system match that I have is a dog with a severe line move. If you are a dog that gets at least 2 points of movement in your direction off the opener, those teams are 87 and 65 ATS, 57% since 2018. Also, short road dogs getting 6 or less. They're covering 55% of the time since 2019. And right now, Jacksonville, the splits look pretty good. At DraftKings, only 36% of bets, 52% of dollars. So it's moved a lot toward the Jags, but I'm thinking it may move even further. You can get down to 3. These hooks are so important. So if you like Jacksonville, you may want to grab the 3.5 right now with the Jags.
All right, Josh, before we get you out of here, how'd you feel about your man, Mike Vrabel, quitting on a game and letting the Raiders win, punting down 2 scores at midfield?
JBT, you know what? I'm watching that game. I didn't have any action on it, but I'm a Patriots fan, obviously. My dad texts me, why did Vrabel punt? He should have gone for it. So even my dad, who doesn't care about betting at all, he's just a Pats fan, that was brutal. I mean, Drake May looking for the year 2 leap, didn't look great to me. And Vrabel looked a lot like Gerard Mayo, and that's saying a lot. So who knows? JBT going into Miami where they usually struggle. The line is going toward New England. They're down to about 1.5 dog. They open getting 3, 2.5. So maybe they get right because they're playing Tua, but not the start I was looking for as a Patriots fan.
Real quick, do you know, is Christian Gonzalez going to play, or is that still up in the air?
Questionable. He still hasn't practiced. I mean, hamstrings are tricky. They could last a long time. We'll see. I hope so, but nothing right now is at the injury report.
Josh, you're awesome. Thank you so much for the insight today. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Stormy. Thanks, JBT. Have a great week.
Back at you. Josh Appelbaum, everybody. If you haven't already, make sure you check out the All Systems Go podcast. Also, as I mentioned, he has an article up on VSiN.com right now breaking down all of those angles for Monday night.
As is our boy Zach Cohen, by the way, a recap and everything in football. Really quickly, former Dolphins cornerback Xavier Howard to the Colts reporters now on Tua. Quote, we knew he gets the ball out pretty quick. Once we take away his first read, I feel like it's panic mode after that, and it showed yesterday.
3 turnovers for Tua yesterday. Picks, fumbles. Lane 1.5 again, hosting the Patriots. Total 44.5, and that one coming up on Sunday. We're going to step aside. Final thoughts here on Money Moves. Monday Night Football coming up, and best bets headed into the start of the week. We'll be right back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This Monday edition of Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158, live from downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Stormy Buonantony. Monday Night Football on deck, as we've talked a lot about today. Minnesota and Chicago going head-to-head. The Bears getting 1.5 at Soldier Field. Total, slight tick to the under, 43.5, which, as we were talking about with Josh Appelbaum a few minutes ago, Par for the course, I would think, given all of the under success here to start for week 1. I bet under 44 on Friday, put that in my official plays, but the more we've talked about this game, I'm not sure I like it as much. We shall see. Did want to update from a Survivor and Circa Million contest standpoint. There are 55 Survivor entries coming in today on the Bears, 19 on the Vikings. No Grandissimos in the balance, as all of them got through in week 1 already with Sunday and Thursday's performances. Or I think Friday, were there Chargers involved in that? I don't remember.
Probably.
Circa Million ATS contest, not among the top 5 most played games, but 1,121 taking the points with the Bears as you did, and 528 laying it with the Vikings.
I do know what made it through in terms of Survivor was money moves, dog.
Yeah.
Just like everybody else, but
yeah,
still.
Everyone did. We mentioned the top 7 and 9 of the top 10 picks all made it through.
Yes.
So not really much to brag about, but
the one
survive in advance, baby.
We're gonna win when like 17,000 people win. How much is it? How much is the prize pool? Divided by 17,000 people, we get like 1,000 each. We get our money back. That'd be cool.
Yeah, just get the entry
Just get it back.
Fee.
Just get all the way through to the end, and then win it. So not a fun sweat. So if the rest of the Survivor entries for us would just be blowouts, would be great.
Yeah, if everyone would suck and then we would just have blowouts, that would be great. Yeah. Isn't that the dream? It is time for our best bets of the day, presented by GBank, the official bank of VSiN. And remember, everybody, GBank is built with bettors in mind. Right now, you can earn $50 in cash back rewards bonuses once you're approved and your account is open with the GBank Visa Signature Card. Most credit cards treat sportsbook and gaming transactions as cash advances, even when it's your own money. GBank treats them as regular purchases, so no cash advance fee, saves you 3 to 5% on every deposit. Plus, you get 1% cash back on all eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions. 2% cash back on everything else that you buy. Apply now at VSiN.com/GBank. That's VSIN.com/GBank. And I alluded to it. You are on the Bears tonight, plus 1.5.
Yeah. No, Bears money line. Bears money line tonight.
Money line. Look at you, firing.
Yeah, 1.5. Big difference there. I'm going on a limb. No, I think they're going to win the game. So we'll go with the Bears. I'm going to get behind my belief that Ben Johnson is exactly who he is. Again, I'll reiterate, if you weren't with us, check out the Money Moves pod, wherever you get your podcast. Tyler Forness is with us, does a great job covering the Vikings. We asked him, hey, what's some interesting angles from this Ben Johnson matchup against Brian Flores that maybe we haven't seen or tracked? And he noted it. Ben Johnson against Flores, 4-0, and he scored 30 points in all 4 of those games. I don't know if that's going to equate to getting that from Caleb Williams, but I'm somebody who still buys into the talent. I'm still somebody that buys into Johnson as a coach. I liked what I've heard, at least in terms of the way he's running the team too. I like the investments in the offensive line. I think these things change, and I think there's going to be an opportunity for them to get a win at home. So let's see if it gets done. We'll go Bears money line at home today against the Vikings.
For all of the positives you think about the Bears, I know you are somebody that has questions about J.J. McCarthy, too, on the other side, making his first career start in primetime on the road at Soldier Field, coming off of an injury. Their left tackle, by the way, also coming off of a major knee injury. So take all of that into account. I don't have a play on the side. I'm just going to watch this thing and see how it plays out, sweat out the under 44 and see what happens. Our NFL picks so far, week 1, not too shabby. 4-2 coming into tonight for me. You're 5-3. Our college football picks did take a bit of a hit this past week on both sides. Overall, though, on the season for both of us, college football and NFL combined, I am 11-10-1, up 1.6 units. You're 11-13, but breaking even. So fresh start this week.
Yeah, you could say that we took a couple of hits as you see the recap for the best bets in the NFL over the weekend. Those hits were repeated kicks to the crotch, as we said earlier. College was absolute nightmare. NFL a little bit better. So that was a ton of fun. So it sounds like you're going to be with us on this Friday.
Yes, I will be here this Friday.
Okay, not in studio, but you'll...
No, I'll be in studio.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my game is, I'm doing Minnesota at Cal this coming weekend. So
a quick jaunt.
Very easy, quick flight, and there's plenty of options on Southwest again, as I'll say. I'll throw that out there for you.
Totally something I get. So on Fridays, what we were going to do, and we're still going to drag you through it, is getting into some defensive player props because we don't really talk about it. We always talk about passing props and receiving yards and things like that. So we talked about 3 that I thought, and the whole premise was trying to find opportunities where, run heavy attacks, these guys that are playing linebacker, maybe some opportunities to play, dudes that we know are going to play a lot of snaps. So 3 guys stuck out on Friday that we had discussed. Robert Spillane didn't get there against the Las Vegas Raiders, but Patrick Queen and Cody Barton did themselves. So, look, this is all, we're just trying to experiment. with this new market that I haven't dipped into at all. If you're somebody that does, I would love any tips or anything like that. But a good start after the first week of taking our first look at some of these defensive tackle props over the weekend.
So is that going to be a theme moving forward? You're going to do that every Friday?
Yeah, we'll do that Fridays.
I like that.
Yeah, especially now, like getting into some of the data that we have so much data, trying to find like maybe some of these guys that are playing some more snaps. And part of it was trying to build how these games would play out and seeing the opportunities there. I got lucky in the Titans spot because Cody Barton was one where I figured, look, if the market's right and the Broncos are going to blow this team out, then maybe there's going to be a lot of opportunities to play against a team trying to run the clock out. He still got over, but it did not play out that way as the Broncos were in a scrap the entire way.
Okay, so 2-1 on the tackle props. Again, all these best bets presented by GBank, the official bank of VSiN. Last couple minutes before we get out. I am curious your opinion on, because we did break down a handful of the games, but did you have a team that was your biggest loser, the biggest disappointment of the opening weekend so far in the NFL?
I mean, come on.
Are we the same?
What is it?
Is it the Carolina Panthers?
Oh, the Panthers. You know, I have to go back and look because that was delayed. So, but yes, that would probably be among them, especially if Bryce Young's not going to play well. Because I think do you have over his passing yards, right? That was one of yours. He didn't even eclipse 200. That was not something when the questions were, hey, can you keep up this strong push that you had at the end of the year? And then in the first game of the season, you're back to the guy that you were before. That to me is one where you're like, ooh, yeah, that's not great.
Because that was one to me that, especially given all of the preseason conversation that we had, I feel like we were very optimistic about what this team could be, and then they come out and the Jags do that to them. I did not like what we saw at all there. But who were you thinking? Because obviously you were going in a different direction.
I mean, the Dolphins are like...
But I don't think that was a surprise. Like, that's what I mean, is like you're a surprise loser.
I think for some it was, but I'll throw one out there. I think if you have anything pro-Texans, you're worried. That offensive line looked exactly the same against the Los Angeles Rams. This is something that I discussed with you, and we've talked about it ad nauseum here. But the reason why I didn't like the Texans was I figured they were going to have an offense that was among, like bottom half of the league, just very middling, not able to really get things going. Again, C.J. Stroud pressured on 41% of his dropbacks against the Los Angeles Rams. Immediately snap, sprinting for your life, offense stuck in the mud. And the thing that you're worried about here is, again, your defense played relatively well. You're in position to win a game, but because your offense is so subpar, because of that offensive line, you're not in a position or you don't win the game. Other thing that you should point out, too, Nick Chubb, fine, 60 yards, 13 attempts, but really the whole game, 114 yards, 32 of which came from C.J. Stroud. I don't like this offense, man, at all, and that showed in week one.
So what you're saying is we should be targeting unders. If the defense is as good ultimately as people think it should be, and then the offense has struggled, we didn't get to it, so I was trying to tee you up to say something.
I did do that. Did I put that in there?
You did.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that. I was like, wow, I thought that earlier, too.
I was trying to tee you up for that, but instead you had to make it weird. Thanks.
Sorry. I was like, wow, that's something I thought is exactly what I thought. Yes, I would say that maybe that's one of those stupid overreactions of should we just blindly bet every single Texans game, once it opens, should we just bet it under? The defense is great. The offense stinks.
That was, while my Bryce Young pass prop did not come through, the Matthew Stafford under 32.5 attempts did, 21 to 29. But considering the back issues, looked good. Got the ball to Puka Nacua, who had a day. Did you have any reaction to Los Angeles and the Rams moving forward? Because I know this is a team that we were a little bit down on coming in.
I was just wondering if he was going to be able to take a hit, and he did. So, look, if he's going to be able to play at that level, I think you're going to be perfectly fine, right? I think it's going to be in a pretty good spot there. So I was impressed with him, and he had one of the higher PFF passing grades of the day, too. So that really worked out for him as well. Aaron Rodgers, one of the lowest.
You're the worst. Also, I forgot because I was going down the NFL road, and we did talk about this bet for you earlier today, but you did put that K-State plus 1.5 in pocket.
Wow, yes. I keep forgetting all these things. Yep, K-State plus 1.5. Let's go. What? I'm in. Yeah, like K-State. It's a buy low opportunity. I think it's ridiculous. Arizona, I don't think they're that good.
Ridiculous seems a bit extreme.
No, it's ridiculous. Brent Brennan stinks. Congratulations. You beat up on Hawaii. Nope, nothing.
And I think it's what was it?
What do you mean it's well, hold on. Now this is 30 seconds.
88 to 9?
You're the K-State person at the desk.
I am, but I'm just saying.
Already off the ship.
No, I'm not. I just think that verbiage. And you shouldn't be losing.
Such fickle belief.
You should not be losing to a service academy as a 17-point favorite. What are we talking about?
You just jump at the first sign, huh?
Well, I told you from the opener against Iowa State that I was extremely disappointed in the defense. And that just keeps
It's
happening.
a little bit of adversity,
So-
and Stormy's out.
All right, that's a wrap for us. Stick around, though, after Money Moves. Paulie Howard, Mitch Moss coming up with Follow the Money. On the show today, Warren Sharp breaks down week 1 and gives some insight into betting angles for week 2. Have a great day.